Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will try to complete my childhood cancer story. I previously spoke about how I was diagnosed and how it all started, my chemo journey which led to my surgery and everything else. So if you haven't watched those videos, I will link them here somewhere. Do watch those videos and then come back to this one. Like always, before I start this video, I feel like I need to say this again and again, that all cancers are not the same. There are over 200 types of cancers with different signs and symptoms. Even if two individuals have the same type of cancer, they might have a different combination of genetic changes. So the cancer's behavior and response to treatment will vary from person to person. Even the cancer treatment is tailored for each patient according to the medical needs and requirements and limitations. So what worked for me might not work for you. So do not look up to me or Google for medical advice. If you feel like there's something wrong, you should definitely go see a doctor. Having said that, so in this video, along with my recovery post-surgery, I will also tell you about something that I did that changed my life forever. I don't know if it was for better or for worse, both maybe, but it did. Like I told you in my last video, after a lot of chemo and a lot of discussion, my surgery was planned and I had my first major surgery on July 4th, 2005. I was already 12 at that time. The surgery was a success and everything went well. Remember when I told you when I was diagnosed, my affected leg, which was left leg, was shorter than my right leg. But after surgery, it was the opposite. My right leg was shorter than the left leg. This is because during the surgery, my left leg was made a little longer so that if my other leg grew with age, both the legs would come to the same height. At present, my left leg is again shorter than my right leg because I grew out of the height they gave me. Thank God I ended up short because the difference is not that noticeable. So after my surgery, I was kept in a separate and an isolated room to avoid any sort of infection. This is how my prosthetic bone looks like inside. It took me some time to recover because it was a major surgery and I was very young. After a month or so, when all the drain and everything else was removed, I was finally taught how to walk with crutches obviously, but I was so happy. That was the most memorable time of my life because I was walking almost after a year and I started walking pretty well and I recovered really fast. So I was sent back to my hometown Shillong. I had to continue getting chemo post-surgery so I could get it here in my hometown as well. So the thing is that as long as I was in Vellore, I was so grateful that I was walking again. I felt pretty much normal there because it was a big hospital and I could see many kids and grown-ups who looked like me and who were walking like me. So I felt pretty normal there. But things changed when I came back to Shillong. The probability of seeing someone like me or who looked like me or walked like me was very slim. I was 12 years old. I felt so different. Sometimes I felt like an alien, like everyone was looking at me and they were staring at me. I did not like it anymore. I started being unhappy as soon as I came home because I could see all the judgment in people's faces and that really crushed me. I wasn't happy that I was walking again. I just hated that I was bald and walking with crutches. I just hated everything. I started feeling so unhappy and I don't know, I think at that time I just wanted to go back where I looked normal. So after chemo, I started to try to walk without crutches. This is where my journey of messing things up started. I was being stubborn and not listen to anybody. When they asked me to walk with crutches, I would just brush my parents off. I just did not want to listen to anybody anymore. It started small, like me going from my room to the washroom, back and forth, just that, not much. In a day I would walk like twice or thrice. Things really took a turn when my family and my cousin's family, we all decided to take a small trip to Guwahati, Assam. That is pretty near to our hometown. So yes, we went there. It was fine at the beginning, but then my father decided to take me, my sister and my cousin to the zoo. Now the Guwahati Zoo is big, it's huge. And me, I decided to walk the entire zoo without my crutches because I was shy. Now you must be thinking, why did my parents let me do that? It is because I was stubborn, and if they didn't let me do what I wanted, I would throw a tantrum. My tantrum was not like what normal kids would do. My tantrum was like very emotional, blackmailing kind of tantrum. I would start crying and say I felt so different, everyone was looking at me, and I just didn't want to live anymore. I was so dramatic. So yeah, they would just fall for it, and they just let me do what I wanted because they couldn't deal with me anymore. Yeah, so I walked around the entire zoo without using my crutches, and my legs started paining, but I never told anybody because I was just scared that they would ask me to walk with crutches again. So just kept quiet and everything was fine, and we came back home. So this zoo thing happened around August of 2006. It was a year after my surgery. First week of September 2006. I remember this day very clearly because it was one of the worst days of my life. I had many of those, but this one was different because it was caused by me and the guilt. I was outside playing or doing something, and I was just about to go in, and I took a step and my bone got dislocated. I remember screaming and my mom rushing, and she gave me my crutches and she took me in, and I was crying because it was so painful. I just hate that day. Can't even explain how the pain was. It was just like somebody ripped my soul out of me. It was just so painful. Then I was rushed to a nearby hospital, and the orthopedic there had asked me to get an x-ray done. So in that x-ray table, when they were like turning me towards the side where my bone dislocated, I screamed because it was painful. Something is out of my body and they're trying to push me towards it. So I screamed. So I am not a crier in the hospital. I don't like to cry and all because I always want to be in the good books of the doctors and everything. But that day I screamed. I screamed so much that the entire hospital was shaken up. They were thinking, what happened? What are they doing to me? That too in the x-ray room. What could happen there? Yes, I screamed so much. So that was then. And recently I screamed when they did a bone marrow test. That was painful, yes. So I hardly screamed, but these were some exception. So it was confirmed that my bone got dislodged from the surgical site, and I was to be taken to Vellore immediately. Pain was one thing, but the guilt that I was living in at 12 years old, everything happened because of me. I couldn't forgive myself. Like, it was too much. I was not even concerned about the pain anymore because I felt so bad. So it took some time for my parents to take me back to Vellore because they had to make all the arrangements and all of that. Since that dislocation happened in September, then October, November, so for all these 3 months I couldn't lie down or sleep or lie flat on the surface like that because of the pain. So I would only sit all day, all night against the wall. So basically I didn't sleep for 3 months. So I was taken to Vellore on December 2006. So after all the tests and everything, on December 23rd, I was admitted to the hospital, and they did something called traction. Traction is basically pulling on a part of your body. They wrapped my leg something like this with the help of a bandage. At the end of the bandage, there was a hook. There was a pulley at the edge of my bed, so that hook would connect to the pulley, and they added weights to that pulley, around 10 kg. So what this would do is put tension on the dislocated bone, and the tension would help to put the joints back together. So after the traction, my surgery was scheduled on 4th of January. And 3rd of January 2007 was my birthday, and it was the same day my mom came to Vellore again. At first only me and my dad had gone to Vellore. I remember celebrating my birthday in the hospital with all the nurses and other patients, and all the nurses, they gave me a gift, and that was so sweet of them, and I really loved that birthday. I remember it very well. So the surgery didn't go as planned, the traction didn't do much, and they couldn't fix the same bone again. So after that I was discharged. I was still in Vellore. I was waiting again for my new bone to arrive from Germany. It was the whole thing again, like the first surgery. I would need to have another major surgery. So they removed the entire thing and redo the whole surgery all over again. So I waited for a month, and around 23rd of February I had my 3rd major surgery. Till this day I really regret of what I did. just being shy of what people thought of me caused me so much pain and trouble, not just me but my entire family. Since that day, I have been so scared to walk without crutches that I never left my crutch. I always walk with my crutch and I don't care what people think of me. I love this guy. Yeah, it's so sad that I had to learn this in such a way. So after the surgery, the doctors were a bit more careful. They gave me more preventive measures. I was not allowed to walk with crutches this time. I had to walk with a walker for some time, and they also gave me an iron belt which hugged around my waist and my thigh up to my knee. I wish I had that so that I could show you how it looked. And it was very heavy and I would wear that all the time. Even throughout my school days, I wore it every single day and no one knew it really, except for my very close friends. So after the surgery, I was sent back home. When I recovered and I started walking with crutches again, and when I went to school, there was so much more that happened, like all the shame, the judgments, people making fun of me, so many more. And like, I feel like that's a story for some other time. But yeah, those things kept on happening, but that didn't change my mind. I still would walk with crutches because I was 12 years old. I didn't know better and I made a mistake. Sometimes your one wrong decision, especially made thinking of what others thought about you, can change your life in such a way. I wish I had listened to my doctors and my parents and not the noises and the judgment of people who didn't even matter to me, of people who didn't know half of the struggle and the pain that I had gone through. To be honest, to this day, I still feel very anxious going out in public or meeting new people because of how would they react to me and all of the follow-up questions that I would get. It is very exhausting, but now I'm so used to it that I hide it really well. So like I said, I had to go through a lot more when I started school. When I grew up, people can be mean, but also I found some really nice people who just accepted me the way I was. So as they say, what other people think of you should not be your business. I think that's so true, because why care and why let their opinions control you so much? Like I said, it still bothers me a lot. I get really anxious, but with time I started understanding that people are more accepting these days. For some people, you're always too fat or too thin, too tall or too short, too fair or too dark. It's like they will always have something to say. Not everyone will appreciate your uniqueness. So do not surround yourself with those kind of people. If you are different, embrace it. I'm not saying it's easy, because it's not. Trust me, I still feel so weird about myself sometimes, but then I will also say that it's not impossible. You can always learn to love yourself even more. So with that thought, this is the end of my childhood cancer story, but my story doesn't end here. If you want to know more, then do subscribe to my channel and also check out my shorts. I will be putting some of my short stories there, and join me on this journey. Let's empower each other to overcome any obstacles and live our best lives while we can. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.